My brother entered into a marital union with my former romantic partner, who had been unfaithful to me. My girlfriend became pregnant, and subsequently demanded that I reconcile with my brother and forgive the past. I was initially amenable to this idea, but have since come to the conclusion that people do not change. Even the most hardened criminals may reform, but those who engage in infidelity are unlikely to cease their behavior. My brother learned this lesson the hard way, as he was the one who was wronged. My brother did not believe me when I said that his beloved wife was a cheater. It is difficult to be certain about the fidelity of one's own blood. How can I be so sure she is a cheater? She has a history of infidelity, and her accounts of these events are often implausible. I will have to recount the full history of Tasha, my former girlfriend. My former girlfriend and now my brother's wife, I can say ex-wife. My wife subsequently engaged in an adulterous relationship with my brother at the time. I informed my brother that she was unfaithful and advised him not to marry her. Tasha's motive for marrying my brother was primarily financial, and he did not heed my advice. Consequently, our relationship deteriorated, and I did not attend his wedding. Now, he is attempting to reconcile with Tasha, who is pregnant. My mother urged me to do so, so I gave them a chance. It turned out that she was still cheating when she gave birth. The baby did not resemble him, and he took a paternity test because he had seen it with his own eyes. I will explain in detail. At the time, I was not fully aware of the situation. At the time, I was in a relationship with Tasha. I desired a girlfriend who would be attractive to other men. I perceived myself as a loser in high school, and the validation that I received from Tasha was significant. I spent a considerable amount of money on a car to impress her. Tasha exhibited a high degree of paranoia throughout our relationship. She frequently checked my phone and monitored my whereabouts. She prevented me from communicating with other girls. I was motivated to make her feel secure, so I introduced her to my close friends and family. However, when my friend's friend saw her, he immediately informed me that she was untrustworthy and advised me to avoid her. I was delusional at the time. I was under the impression that the individuals in question were merely envious of me. I was reluctant to sever my friendship over this matter. I continued to defend her, and eventually, I introduced her to my parents and my only brother, Noah, who is 35 years of age. Noah is 3 years my senior, but he still behaves like a child. I had hoped to introduce her to my mother, who is 67 years of age. My father, 69 years of age, and Noah, my brother, I invited her to join us on our family weekend trip, which I believed would be beneficial for our relationship. I anticipated that we would have an excellent time together at the beach. However, this did not materialize. Tasha became angry with me because she believed that I was admiring another girl in a bikini. For the record, I was not. Upon observing her, she proceeded to slap me and subsequently departed to an unidentified destination. I was overcome with a sense of anger, and thus, I did not pursue her. After a considerable amount of time had elapsed, I began to experience concern for her well-being. Consequently, I undertook a search for her. I conducted an extensive search, but I was unable to locate her. My parents had departed for a shopping excursion to the nearby town. I proceeded to the beach house, under the assumption that she had returned. Upon arrival, I observed Tasha and Noah in a state of undress on the couch, engaged in activities that I found disagreeable. I subsequently experienced a complete emotional breakdown. Tasha attributed the incident to my own actions, claiming that it would not have occurred had I not glanced at other women. I did not look at other women, but it seems that she believes that everyone is like her. My brother offered the excuse that he thought Tasha was not my type and that they would be happier together. I was extremely angry about the situation and left. At the time, I was unable to let go of it. After a period of reflection and research, I subsequently discovered that Tasha had been engaging in flirtatious behavior with multiple males during our relationship. She would accompany them on expensive dinners and shopping trips. I considered myself to be one of those males. I attempted to inform Noah about her behavior, but he was not receptive to my warnings. I did not devote much attention to the matter or attempt to resolve it. Subsequently, I was still enraged by the discovery that my girlfriend had been unfaithful to me with my own brother. I was aware that she would also betray him, and that he would eventually discover her infidelity. However, events did not unfold as I had anticipated. Approximately 2 months later, I received an invitation to their wedding. I was astonished to learn that my brother was marrying a woman he barely knew. This individual was a gold digger, a liar, and a cheater. At that point, I was aware that if I did not intervene, there would be consequences for my brother. My goal was to protect him from her and to prevent his heart from being broken in the future. I presented my brother with all the evidence I had against her, which proved that she had a history of infidelity. He then informed me that Tasha had told him the truth. She simply wanted to try out different men until she found someone perfect. She had told Noah that he was the ideal partner for her, and then they decided to get married. Everything she said seemed genuine, but my brother was blinded by her love and believed her. Noah is a significant spender, but this does not matter much to us because we are doing quite well financially. Noah earns a substantial amount of money, but also has our parents to support him. We do not pay rent because we have our own apartments. My father likes investing in real estate, so we have a large amount of rental income and we live in the apartments he owns. Life has been good for us, and I think Tasha wanted it too. I know she is a gold digger. Money is not the only factor at play, our parents also provide us with support. We do not pay rent because we have our own apartments. My father is an investor in real estate, and we receive a significant income from rental properties. We reside in the apartments he owns. Our lives have been relatively good, and I believe Tasha wanted the same. I am aware that she is a gold digger. Digging revealed that Tasha had persuaded Noah to throw a lavish celebration for their wedding. She had spent a considerable sum of money on the event, much of which had been provided by my father. What was particularly noteworthy was that she had invited numerous individuals with whom she had been involved to attend the wedding. In fact, nearly 1/4 of the attendees had been intimate with her. Additionally, a number of her eccentric friends and my own relatives had also been in attendance. My family was not pleased with the wedding. My mother simply wished for her daughter's happiness, but my father was vehemently opposed to the wedding. Her family did not attend the wedding because they had disowned her for reasons unknown. I was invited to the wedding, but I did not attend or participate in my brother's wedding. My brother called me, imploring me to attend the wedding after I had initially declined the invitation. I informed him that I would not be attending my ex's wedding, and Noah responded by calling me jealous and stating that I could not tolerate his happiness. This was the last time I spoke to him for 5 years. My mother recently contacted me. He expressed a desire to reconcile. I informed my mother that he should initiate contact directly and refrain from discussing the matter through her. She indicated that she would encourage him to contact me, but urged me to give him an opportunity. I was initially reluctant, but ultimately agreed to try. He then contacted me a few days later. A few days later, he informed me that Tasha was pregnant. It had been 5 years, and they were still together. He wanted to remind me that I had been mistaken about them, and that Tasha had remained faithful to him. He advised me to put our differences aside and to reconcile in order to welcome the new baby. I subsequently elected to visit them, and they appeared to be a content and conventional family. Noah made a remark about my single status and encouraged me to at least form a romantic relationship. He expressed gratitude for my introduction to Tasha and attributed the stability of his family to me. This interaction provoked my ire, and I was determined to demonstrate that he was mistaken. I was surprised that the relationship had endured for so long, so I attempted to uncover information about Tasha. I discovered a multitude of instances of her infidelity over the past few years, which were not particularly surprising. She had been unfaithful on numerous occasions to my brother, and she had been staying in hotels with I had all the necessary evidence, including screenshots of text messages from a man named John. The woman in question ended the relationship on a negative note, sharing screenshots of her text messages with other men. She claimed that she was unaware of his marital status and that he had been used for shopping and social outings while her husband was away. While I was away from home, I was able to gather sufficient evidence to prove that Tasha was unfaithful. This was particularly evident in her interactions with John. On one occasion, Tasha called me at home and informed me that she was in a state of emergency, as she was pregnant and needed my assistance. I decided to visit their residence. Tasha informed me that Noah was present. At work, She informed me that she was aware of my inquiries regarding her and that she would engage in sexual intercourse with me in order to prevent me from disclosing the truth to Noah. She invited me to the bedroom, but I declined and left immediately. What transpired subsequently was unexpected. She lied to Noah, stating that I had requested that she engage in sexual intercourse with me. I threatened to reveal her infidelity to Noah if she did not comply with my demands. I informed Noah that no such incident had occurred, and that she had initiated contact and offered to engage in sexual intercourse with me. Noah was not inclined to believe me, and he refused to accept the truth about her. I attempted to provide him with tangible evidence, but he remained unconvinced. I informed him that she was in fact cheating on him, but he was angry and did not wish to listen to my words. I attempted to convey this information to him through my parents, but he was unresponsive. He became increasingly agitated as I attempted to influence the entire family. My parents were aware of the situation. Furthermore, my mother was aware of her actions and was distressed by them. She was particularly concerned about the prospect of Noah entering into an unhappy marriage, particularly given that they were expecting a child together. My father, however, was indifferent to this, as he believed that Noah was too naive to recognize the signs that Tasha was unfaithful. I, on the other hand, was aware of Tasha's infidelity. To be gullible as a child, but now he was being plain stupid. My mother attempted to engage in conversation with Noah to explain that Tasha was not a suitable partner for him. Noah believed that I was influencing her, and now she believes Tasha is a cheater based on false evidence. Noah became angry with my mother, so she attempted to persuade him to speak with her. She acquiesced and decided to feign acquiescence to the notion that Tasha was not a cheater. I distanced myself from Noah and his wife, as there was no point in attempting to convince someone who was not inclined to believe you. He was already angry with me for seducing his wife. I received a call from Noah after a couple of months. He informed me that Tasha was giving birth, and that her parents were stranded in a different state due to flight cancellations caused by inclement weather. Noah was visibly distressed, and I was similarly perplexed. However, I remained by his side throughout the lengthy and intricate birthing process. Ultimately, Tasha and Noah the couple was blessed with a baby boy. At the time, I was genuinely pleased for them. However, upon seeing the infant, I experienced a peculiar sensation. The child exhibited a few characteristics that neither Noah nor Tasha possessed. These traits could not be attributed to them. I observed the infant's eyes, which resembled those of a child of Asian origin. I attempted to convey this as accurately as possible at the time. I considered the possibility that the infant's appearance might be attributed to the fact that he was a newborn. The same kind of peculiarity was evident on the inside. Something was screaming and indicating that the child was not my brother. I visited them for a couple of days, and the more I looked at the baby, the more obvious it was that the baby was not my brother. I laughed because at that point I felt like I had won. The baby was huge evidence that Tasha was a cheater. I could see it on my brother's face that he knew it too because he'd been acting so strangely lately. He demonstrated a complete lack of emotional connection with the infant. A few days later, my brother visited my residence and addressed the obvious discrepancy. He informed me that he believed the child was not his and that Tasha had been unfaithful to him. He also disclosed that they had used contraceptives, but Tasha had simply asserted that the method had failed. I presented him with all the evidence I had gathered and demonstrated how it proved her infidelity. Noah was distraught throughout the night, while Tasha repeatedly contacted him, evidently struggling to cope with the situation alone. I advised Noah to take a paternity test to ascertain the truth. When Noah underwent the test, the results indicated that he was not the father. Noah engaged in a heated argument with Tasha, which we all witnessed because Noah had called us to join him, as he felt unable to confront her alone. Tasha had no grounds for dispute. Despite her evident culpability, Tasha attempted to portray herself as the victim, alleging that Noah had not trusted her and had conducted a paternity test without her knowledge. She subsequently threw a prolonged and tumultuous tantrum, screaming and throwing items, which frightened and woke the infant. In response, Noah opted to stay at his parents' residence for a few days, taking the infant with him due to his lack of trust in Tasha's ability to care for him in such a state of distress. I perceived Noah's actions as compassionate. Of becoming attached to the infant, and thus were Noah and his own parents. Noah sent Tasha the divorce papers, and she was not yet prepared to grant him a divorce. Initially, she wholly denied her infidelity and accused Noah of fabricating the DNA reports after taking another test that proved Noah was not the father. She then began offering implausible justifications for her infidelity. She attempted to prove that the infant was conceived through in vitro fertilization and that Tasha's claims were unsubstantiated, and the court granted the divorce on the grounds of adultery. However, the court also awarded her custody of the child, as my brother had no legal claim to the child. Additionally, Tasha demanded maintenance and child support. The court ruled that she was not entitled to child support because the child was not Noah's, and she was not eligible for maintenance. Tasha attributed the entire divorce to me and persistently contacted me by phone. She also made repeated requests. Noah was asked to take her in because she had nowhere to go with the baby. My parents offered to help her out for a couple of weeks until she could find accommodations and a job. I do not believe she deserves my parents' pity, but I am not in a position to say otherwise. They are good people. I still cannot believe my brother could be so foolish and naive as to marry Tasha. I know I should not hold a grudge, but I feel my brother is also to blame and has suffered the consequences of his actions. My brother's wife had an affair with my brother despite my attempts to dissuade him from marrying her. He was initially reluctant to believe me, but he did believe his wife's claims that I had attempted to sleep with her. As a result of these events, I am contemplating severing ties with my brother. I have maintained communication with him for some time because I wanted to demonstrate that his wife was unfaithful and that I was correct in my assessment. I have achieved my objective and am gratified that the truth is now known. I am also amused by the situation. I am eager to confront my brother and discuss the matter at length. I am aware that my feelings may be perceived as extreme, but I maintain that my brother was also unkind to me. I am seeking advice on whether I should sever ties with him or move on but maintain a distance. I would like to continue my previous discussion about my brother and his unfaithful wife, who is also my former spouse. My brother's girlfriend is irrational. What is more troubling is that she became pregnant as a result of his infidelity. He subsequently divorced her, leaving her without a residence. My parents offered her a room in their apartment, allowing her to remain until she secured employment. They terminated her lease because she had given birth, recognizing the potential for her to become homeless. I anticipated that she would engage in sexual relationships with others in order to secure housing. However, my parents are benevolent individuals. After the divorce, her lawyer advised her to seek alternative accommodation. She was unaware of the circumstances surrounding the child's biological father, and thus felt entitled to inform my mother that she would be leaving the child in her care while she sought employment. She would leave the child at my parents' residence in the morning and would return at late evening or nocturnal hours, on occasion. Some nights, she would not even return to collect the child. My mother had assumed the role of the child's primary caretaker. My father was displeased with the situation and requested that Tasha refrain from leaving the infant at their residence. Tasha became enraged and engaged in a prolonged tantrum, during which she accused my parents of being selfish and unkind, claiming that she required assistance and that no one was willing to provide her with employment. She contacted my parents and the Humane Society, expressing her frustration and seeking assistance. My mother acquiesced and continued to care for the child. My father was not pleased with this arrangement. Noah was reluctant to interact with Tasha, yet I was eager for her to leave my parents' lives because she was becoming a significant source of distress. I became involved in the situation. I was attempting to assist her in finding employment, but I uncovered a startling revelation. Instead of seeking employment, she was residing at home with a new romantic partner who had relocated to the residence and was financially supporting her. Her partner was employed from home and required a tranquil environment, so he requested that Tasha take the infant away. Upon learning of this information, I informed my parents. However, they declined to assume responsibility for the child. They also provided Tasha with a week's notice to vacate the residence and find alternative accommodation. Her new partner was merely residing with her to facilitate his return to the family home. When Tasha inquired about the situation, he was unable to find a suitable residence for them, and subsequently terminated the relationship. Tasha relocated to reside with her friend C32F, as I had already invested a significant amount of time in seeking employment for Tasha. I had identified a position as a cleaner at a daycare center, which offered the opportunity to care for the infant while Tasha was at work. Tasha accepted the position due to her financial necessity. It was gratifying to observe her transition into a role as a cleaner. It is also noteworthy that she believed she would become pregnant with another individual's child. One might observe that she initiated the discussion. I hold a complex set of emotions regarding her. On the one hand, I believe she deserves the consequences of her actions. However, on the other hand, I feel a sense of compassion for the child and her role as a single mother. I continue to hope that she will cease her infidelity and provide a nurturing environment for the child. This is my final contribution to this discussion. I appreciate your engagement with the narrative. Your comments have been invaluable in guiding my thoughts and actions. After carefully considering the feedback, I have decided to maintain a presence in the narrative, though not in the same capacity as before. Tasha's influence on our lives has been profound. The dissolution of the bond between us has been a significant source of distress. Since the divorce, he has distanced himself from the entire family. I am uncertain as to whether I should attempt to re-establish contact with him or simply allow him to move on and refrain from contacting him. I would be grateful if you could share your thoughts in the comments section. I would also like to provide an update and continuation of the post about my brother's ex-partner, who is also my ex-partner. I am grateful to you all for your guidance and support. I was unsure of whom to approach and your comments provided me with a much-needed perspective. I decided to reach out to my brother and am grateful that I did. He expressed remorse for not believing me. Given the circumstances of the divorce and the emotional distress it caused, it is understandable that I was reluctant to sever ties and make an effort to repair the relationship. It required a significant personal investment on my part because I was still grappling with the emotional impact of the situation. Trusting one's partner and advocating for them is one thing. However, blindly accepting their actions and going against the advice of one's family is another. At this juncture, I feel that I have a responsibility to act in the best interest of my sister-in-law and her children. I have discussed my feelings of anger and resentment towards my brother-in-law for being the man my sister-in-law cheated with. He has caused significant distress to all involved. He expressed remorse for his actions and acknowledged the error of his ways, particularly in regards to his trust issues and his tendency to taunt those he perceived as being less fortunate. I had forgotten about many of the incidents he had committed, but in essence, he had consistently exhibited a pattern of behavior that was detrimental to my well-being. From our childhood, he had been a source of emotional distress. However, after marrying Tasha, he crossed a significant threshold, exhibiting behaviors that were not only detrimental to my well-being but also to the well-being of others. Tasha, for instance, had been promoted to a position of authority despite her lack of experience and competence in the role. Regarding the care of children, she was unable to provide adequate care for her own child. There were numerous complaints from staff members regarding her treatment of the children. However, the manager was unresponsive to these concerns. Subsequently, complaints were received from the parents, which led to her termination. Despite her pleas to remain employed, the manager's decision was final. She was subsequently unemployed and in a state of desperation. After an extensive search, Tasha finally located the child's father, Kyle C. 39M. Kyle was a wealthy middle-aged man. The individual in question was an elderly Asian man who had also been unfaithful to his wife, Rita, a woman of approximately 37 years of age. Rita was undoubtedly devastated when she discovered her husband's infidelity and learned that he had fathered a child with another woman. Tasha, in an act of callousness, showed up at their doorstep when Kyle denied any involvement with her or the child. Tasha then proceeded to call the police on him and sought legal counsel. Kyle was requested to undergo a paternity test, which confirmed that he was the biological father of the child. Rita was unable to conceive, leading her to pursue custody of the child. They engaged in litigation, but Kyle was not genuinely interested in maintaining custody, resulting in their loss of the case. Tasha, on the other hand, desired custody of the child to claim child support and utilize it for her own purposes. The court ruled that Kyle was obliged to pay child support to Tasha, and she received a substantial sum every month. Her child was cared for throughout the day at a daycare facility while she sought a new partner to fulfill her needs. Tasha's actions and behaviors were more detrimental than I had anticipated. She is not going to remain physically attractive and youthful forever, and she needs to prioritize establishing a career. It is evident that Tasha is not dependent on anyone. It is unlikely that a suitable partner would be willing to marry her, given her current circumstances. She is known to change partners frequently for her own benefit. This could potentially lead to her facing significant difficulties in the future. It is unfortunate that the child is caught in the middle of this situation. It is hoped that Tasha will reconsider her actions and change her ways. For now, her life may appear to be relatively easy, but it is likely that this will not last forever. My brother and I are aware of the situation and are keeping a close eye on it. It is evident that the reputation of this individual has been tarnished, and it is unlikely that any respectable gentleman would be willing to associate with her, given her penchant for financial exploitation. The company she keeps is not conducive to a stable and healthy environment, and it is our hope that this will not have an adverse effect on the child. Updates on Tasha and her cheating, gold digging, and living like a freeloader, as I predicted in my previous posts. She would not really be in good company, as some men are not good and want to take advantage. I respect women who have an active sexual life, but she is the kind of woman she is with. She is currently living with a man who is a criminal and has strong links to selling drugs. She was in a relationship with a man and overdosed while taking drugs with him. I will not provide details about the drugs she was taking. She did not receive assistance for almost 20 hours, and her child was left unattended. The child managed to open the door and was wandering on the streets. He nearly got hit by a car when neighbors spotted him and took him home. They found Tasha unconscious. The authorities were obliged to place Tasha in a rehabilitation facility, and the child was taken into the care of the child protection authorities. The child was found to have been exposed to significant quantities of drugs and smoke at a very young age, which had a markedly detrimental impact on his lungs. Noah experienced a sense of empathy for the child, and we attempted to arrange a meeting with him. The baby's father, whom I previously mentioned in my account, was contacted. After verifying their ability to care for the child, custody was awarded to the individual in question. My mother, who has a strong emotional attachment to the child, was understandably distressed. The child was subsequently placed in the care of Rita, a schoolteacher and child lover. Rita accepted the child as her own and began to provide care. What was even more surprising was that Rita filed for divorce from Kyle. She had irrefutable evidence that her husband had been unfaithful to her, and that he had fathered another child. She was awarded a substantial alimony payment. Rita divorced her husband, and it is fortunate that she did so, as he was unworthy of her. Rita not only divorced him, but she also kept the child with her. Rita legally adopted the child, and now she raises the child as her own, as a single mother. I believe that she is doing well. She is doing well, and I am pleased that the child has a good life. She also allows my mother to meet him, as she is concerned and attached to him. My mother did not want to deal with Tasha's tantrums, so she did not think to reach out to her. As for Tasha, the overdose landed her in the hospital for a couple of weeks. She would have died if she had consumed more drugs that day. Alternatively, had the child not been discovered lying unconscious, the infant was malnourished and weak. He was hungry and had a severely soiled diaper on. He was almost hit by a car and had been crying a lot. If the child had not managed to open the door, it could have been too late for them. Tasha was required to attend a 6-month rehabilitation program and was required to pay a significant fine because if she did not, she would have been incarcerated. Furthermore, Tasha was also incarcerated. My brother visited her out of pity because he believed she would be distressed by the loss of her child. In fact, she was merely displeased at no longer receiving child support from Kyle. However, she was relieved that she no longer had to care for the infant. Upon her release from rehab, Tasha promptly visited Rita's residence to discover that she had divorced Kyle. Tasha seized the opportunity to request financial assistance from Rita, unaware that Rita had legally adopted the infant. Rita reported Tasha for threatening her with financial gain and obtained a restraining order against her. Tasha was warned that if she ever attempted to meet the child, she would be imprisoned for endangering the child's welfare. I am continually preoccupied with the events that transpired. Tasha enjoyed a relatively stable and comfortable existence with Noah. Had she chosen to alter her behavior and become more faithful to him, her life would undoubtedly have been considerably more fulfilling. I do not believe there was any justifiable reason for her to engage in infidelity. It is my contention that she sought the attention of multiple partners simultaneously, as evidenced by the fact that Noah was evidently attempting to provide her with the attention she desired. Tasha ultimately brought about her own demise. Ultimately, Tasha's actions resulted in significant personal and interpersonal consequences. While she endured the consequences of her actions, her child and Noah also experienced the repercussions. It would have been preferable if Tasha had exercised caution and utilized protection, thereby avoiding the potential for irreparable damage to the child's life. Fortunately, Tasha's infidelity was discovered by my brother, leading to a favorable outcome. Noah gained insight, Rita became a mother, and Tasha faced the consequences of her actions.